Well, good afternoon and welcome. I'm Angela Koppel, the EMAC Program Director at the National Emergency Management Association. I want to thank the U.S. Department of Energy's Office of Cybersecurity, Energy Security, and Emergency Response for their support and for giving us the opportunity to talk about EMAC today. EMAC, or the Emergency Management Assistance Compact, is a state-to-state mutual aid agreement. States can utilize EMAC to share resources such as services, personnel, equipment, commodities, across state lines during times of emergency or disaster. EMAC has been enacted by all 50 states, the U.S. Virgin Islands, Puerto Rico, Guam, and the District of Columbia. I'm often asked, can I deploy this resource through EMAC? And the answer is generally yes, if it's either a state resource or if it can be cloaked as an agent of the state. Some states have laws that prohibit the deployment of private sector resources through EMAC, while other states are able to do that. As you can see, EMAC can be utilized by a variety of disciplines. We encourage all resource owners to work with our home state emergency management agency to determine eligibility for deployment through EMAC. Once eligibility is established, the state will likely use one of 5 ways to cloak non-state resources as an agent of the state so it can deploy through EMAC if it's not already a state resource. That includes state legislation, MOUs or MOAs, intergovernmental agreements, contracts, or a governor executive order. We, of course, recommend that these mechanisms are set up before a disaster occurs to allow for legal review of the mechanism before it is utilized. The enabling mechanisms truly make EMAC a force multiplier for states, deploying resources from across all disciplines. Since August 2017, 24,337 personnel have deployed through EMAC. And that, of course, does not reflect all of the resources deployed through EMAC's rich 24-year history. One of the reasons I was so excited to present on EMAC today was the low utilization of EMAC from the energy, cyber, and fuel sectors. I think that there's a tremendous opportunity to leverage the compact for these sectors. I'm going to jump into how EMAC works and talk a lot about the law. So very briefly on the EMAC's governance structure. Obviously, as a state-to-state compact, NEMA, the National Emergency Management Association, is the voting membership with oversight by the NEMA Board of Directors. A smaller group of state emergency management directors oversee the implementation of the compact through the EMAC committee. The EMAC committee takes input from the EMAC advisory group, a group of national organizations from across the nation who are working to improve the compact within their discipline. The EMAC Executive Task Force works with the NEMA staff on the development and implementation of policies, procedures, and systems, which then go to the EMAC committee for approval. EMAC's operational components are very unique. The state response through EMAC is coordinated with states and federal agencies. Every year, one state takes on the role of the national coordinating state, who's responsible for operations coordinations on all levels. We always call them the NCS. The NCS works with teams deployed into the requesting state called A-teams and liaisons at both the national and regional response coordination centers with FEMA, where they can then coordinate with the ESFs and the other federal agencies. The foundation of EMAC is the law that's been passed in all 54 member states and the implementation procedures that states have all agreed to follow. Now, before your eyes glaze over, because I did say the word law, and normally when one says the word law, we see eyes glaze over. I want to say, whenever I have a question about EMAC implementation, the first place I always go is back to the law. I mean, it has truly stood the test of time. And it's a very simple compact, but the implementation of it can get complex. So I'm going to jump into some of these EMAC articles so you can understand how the compact and the mechanisms of the compact works. Article 1 says that a governor must declare an emergency or disaster before resources can be received through EMAC. So you can set an event up, you can request resources, but before those resources are received, you must have a declaration. And that is a governor declaration, not a presidential. The compact can be trained and exercised without a declaration in place. Article 2 states that any resource one state would want to share with one another can be deployed through EMAC. Again, we rely on those enabling mechanisms to allow us to bring on non-state resources to deploy through the compact. Article 2 also gives the responsibility for implementing EMAC on behalf of the state to the State Emergency Management Agency, and in particular calls out the State Emergency Management Director as the responsible individual for implementing EMAC on behalf of their governor. Article 3 identifies the state responsibilities to implement EMAC, which includes the development of plans, procedures, education, training, and more. Article 4 very clearly says a state may withhold resources if that resource is needed at home. Article 4 also says that personnel deploying through the compact, with the exception of law enforcement, who, if you want them to have the powers of arrest, must be sworn in upon arrival, but otherwise, personnel have the same powers, duties, rights, and authorities as they do within their home state. While deployed on an EMAC mission, personnel are under the command and control of their home state leadership and under the operational control of the requesting state. In essence, you work for the requesting state entity that you are going there to help. Article 5 identifies all state-issued licenses, certificates, and permits to be deemed licensed, certified, or permitted by the requesting state. There are differences in standards of practice, and there are, of course, differences in job titles between jurisdictions and states, but your license, certificate, and permit do transfer in at the level that they are in your home state. A state licensing board cannot overrule that state law, but a governor could in their declaration. I've not ever seen that happen, but it is possible. Article 6 states that for tort liability and immunity purpose, you are an agent of the requesting state so long as you are acting in good faith. Article 8 identifies the assisting state as the responsible party for providing workers' compensation and death benefits. And as a note, the law also says that workers' compensation and death benefits cannot be billed back to the requesting state. Those are the responsibility of the assisting state. Article 9 simply says that mission-related expenses will be reimbursed by the requesting state, including damage to equipment. EMAC reimbursement is not contingent on a federal disaster declaration. And of course, all eligible expenses must be documented. While I understand reading the EMAC law is not nearly as exciting as probably 4 million other things you could be doing in your life, as the foundation of the compact, I encourage you to take the time to read it over. It's very comprehensive, has been around since 1995. You can go to the EMAC website and view that under Learn About EMAC and then EMAC legislation. As I said earlier, all of the EMAC members have agreed on a standard implementation of EMAC. We use a simple 5-phase process. The first phase is pre-event preparation. This is where you do everything you need to prepare to leave on an EMAC deployment. On the state level, this includes developing plans and procedures, conducting training and exercises. On the local level, it includes working with the State Emergency Management Agency to understand the EMAC process within their state, the responsibilities you have, perhaps reviewing reimbursement guidelines for that state. On a first responder level, it includes taking an EMAC training course. And as a resource provider, it could be developing a mission-ready package. NEMA developed the mission-ready package concept as part of our lessons learned after Hurricane Katrina. It was a very simple idea. Put everything you need in a single package, so when that resource rolls out the door, you have everything you need to conduct the mission in the requesting state, and you know what it costs. Mission-ready packages were designed and built around NEM's resource typing, although you can still develop a mission-ready package if your resource doesn't meet the NEM standard. And we have shown that resource providers who develop mission-ready packages significantly reduce the time from request to deployment. And very briefly, what goes into a mission-ready package? It really is everything that you would need for that mission to be successful in that requesting state. So it includes the equipment, personnel, commodities, meal provisions, whether or not they're going to go by per diem or use receipts, travel expenses, airfare mileage, lodging, a list of licenses that need to transfer, limitations to that mission, logistical support that they might need, equipment requirements, and more. You can request more information on developing a mission-ready package from your state emergency management agency or by taking an online EMAC course on the EMAC website. The pre-event preparation for resource providers is an excellent overview of how to develop a mission-ready package. Once that mission-ready package is developed, it should be entered into the NEMA-maintained Mutual Aid Support System, or MASS. MASS is a free geo-located searchable catalog of mission-ready packages. During an event, states can import directly from MASS. So if a resource provider has entered their mission-ready package into MASS, the requesting and the assisting states can both see those. So they can not only request it, but they can also make their offer of assistance using that MRP as the template. As I mentioned earlier, for the activation of EMAC, in order to receive resources, the governor must declare a state of emergency or disaster. And during the request and offer phase, the big thing to note here is that EMAC follows existing emergency management processes. The local resource requests go to the state. The state determines how that resource request is going to be filled. If it's going to be filled through EMAC, they reach out to the potential assisting states for assistance. All of that goes through the state emergency management agencies. This ensures a coordinated, efficient use of existing processes for mutual aid. The states utilize the online EMAC operation system to request and offer resources. They also complete the EMAC mission paperwork that constitutes a legally binding agreement between the two states for every EMAC mission. There is a verbal provision within EMAC law that EMAC authorized representatives may for 30 days have a deployment without the paperwork completed, but it must be completed within 30 days after that verbal agreement between the two EMAC authorized representatives of the requesting and assisting states. The system is very painless, it's very fast, and it can be very efficient. It's of course bolstered in efficiency when mission-ready packages are available for the states to utilize. Resources that deploy through EMAC are given an EMAC mission order authorization form, or a mission order as we often call it. They receive this during the demobilization phase, and they should also receive a pre-deployment briefing from their assisting state, from their home state emergency management agency, to ensure they know where they're going, what they'll be doing, and who to contact should they need help. Again, once deployed, you're under the operational control of that requesting state until you are demobilized and return home. Upon returning home, deployed personnel will need to gather all of the receipts, travel logs, equipment, their equipment logs, all the documentation that they collected while they were on that mission, and submit it to their home state agency, who will compile that reimbursement package and then submit it to that request to the home state, the assisting state emergency management agency. They will then complete a thorough review on it and identify any missing documentation and come back to the resource provider for that. And then it is sent to the requesting state, who does the review of the package and then cuts the check back to the assisting state, who then turns around and pays that resource provider for their assistance. And I'm also going to point out some of the online and face-to-face training courses that we have available. Thank you to everyone for your time. I appreciate you giving us your time to learn more about EMAC. And if we didn't get to your question today, please contact us and let us know how we can help you.